Most people run from solitude as if it's a disease, believing that being alone is a sign of weakness, something to be feared or pitied. But the truth they never tell you is this: being a woman with no friends is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of immense, untapped power. Because when the world falls silent and you find yourself in a room with only your thoughts for company, something remarkable begins to unfold. At first, the silence is deafening. You check your phone, nothing. 5 minutes later, still nothing. No calls, no texts, no messages lighting up your screen. The quiet becomes heavy, the air thick with the weight of what feels like abandonment. The walls seem to inch closer, and your heart sinks under the crushing thought that maybe, just maybe, you've been forgotten. While others are out chasing dreams, documenting moments, and celebrating life in groups, you sit there wondering if you're missing something vital. Doubt creeps in. You start telling yourself stories, painful, cutting narratives, that you are behind, broken, invisible. The silence amplifies every insecurity, dredges up every buried fear, and for a moment, it seems unbearable. But what if I told you that this silence, the same one you dread, is not your punishment, but your path? That empty room, that suffocating quiet, is a canvas untouched by expectation. There are no voices telling you who you should be, no social mirrors reflecting versions of yourself you never chose. Here in this sacred space, you become the artist of your own life. Every decision, every thought, every dream, yours. No one applauding, no one watching, just you and the truth. It's in that stillness, when no one's cheering and no one's clapping, that real strength is born. Most people can only thrive when they're being seen, but the woman who can rise in silence, who can stand tall without validation, becomes a force that no one can contain. They won't tell you this, but staying in that uncomfortable stillness is where transformation begins. It's where you finally meet yourself, not the polished version you perform, not the version shaped by what others expect, but the raw, unfiltered you. The woman with questions, with courage, with dreams too wild to share at dinner parties. And it's that woman who will build a life so rooted, so real, that no storm will ever shake it. So when the silence comes, when the messages stop and the crowds drift away, don't run, don't numb, stay, sit in it, breathe through it, because that's where you find your voice. That's where you pick up the brush and begin the masterpiece of your life, not for anyone else, but for yourself. And when you do, when you rise from that quiet place with self-worth stitched into every part of your being, you'll never need the noise again. You'll walk back into the world not seeking a seat at their table. You'll bring your own. You'll stop shrinking for space in their world because you've built your own, and it's unshakable. They'll never tell you this part, the part where people drown themselves in distractions, not because they enjoy the noise, but because they're terrified of the silence. They'll gossip endlessly about people who don't matter, plan parties they don't even enjoy, flood their calendars with meaningless interactions, not because they're thriving, but because they're avoiding. The truth is, noise is their drug. It's a way to stay numb, to avoid the reckoning that comes when the room goes quiet and the masks come off. Because when everything falls away, when the friends vanish, the calls stop, the weekends go unbooked, you're left with someone you can't avoid, yourself. Not the version you show to the world, not the version you've shaped to keep everyone else comfortable, but the raw one, the real one, the version that remembers the dreams you shelved to fit in, the values you diluted to be liked, the voice you silenced so others could speak over you. And it's not easy. The silence doesn't flatter you, it won't lie to you. It holds up a mirror and makes you face what you've been too busy to see. But in that mirror lies the most honest reflection you'll ever encounter. And yes, it's painful. It's uncomfortable. It demands answers to questions most people would rather run from. Who are you when there's no one around to approve? What do you believe in when there's no audience to agree with you? Can you still stand tall when you're standing completely alone? Those aren't easy questions. They strip you bare. They leave you exposed. But they also unlock something no amount of noise ever could: clarity. That's why those who are brave enough to stay in the silence come out different. They come out grounded, unshakable. They stop clinging to shallow friendships, stop chasing crowded rooms, stop editing themselves for temporary acceptance. And paradoxically, when they stop seeking the spotlight, they become magnetic. The world leans in, curious, Because realness, raw, rooted, unpolished realness, is rare. While everyone else is chasing the next trend, the next friend, the next hit of validation, you've become the calm center in the chaos, the one who no longer bends to fit, the one who no longer fears being misunderstood, the one who finally fully belongs to herself. You've stopped fearing the silence and started mastering it. And in doing so, you've stepped into a kind of power they can't imitate. The world doesn't need more people who fit in. It needs more people who are unafraid to stand out, stand alone, and stand firm. So the next time you feel that wave of loneliness crashing in, don't numb it, don't fill it, don't run. Sit with it, listen. Because underneath that ache is a voice you've been silencing for far too long. And when you hear it again, when you finally recognize it as your own, you'll never mistake loneliness for weakness again. You'll see it for what it truly is, a portal to the kind of self-trust no crowd can offer and no applause can match. Isolation is a mirror, not a punishment. It doesn't scold, it doesn't scream, it simply reflects, truthfully, without distortion. And what it shows you isn't always pretty. There are no flattering lights, no filters, no cheering audience to soften the edges. It shows you your patterns, your procrastinations, your fears, your unfinished dreams, your unspoken needs. It shows you the moments you gave your power away, just to keep someone close. It shows you the times you swallowed your truth so you wouldn't rock the boat. And yet, within that brutally honest reflection, something sacred begins. Because once you see who you really are, past the noise, the expectations, the layers of performance, you gain something that no crowd can give you: self-possession. You begin to know yourself not as a concept, not as a curated personality, but as a living, breathing, unrepeatable truth. That's why isolation, while painful, is one of life's greatest gifts. It isn't a detour, it's the beginning of your arrival. But most people fear it. They think their worth is proven in the spotlight, that their identity is tied to their visibility. So they chase attention like oxygen, never realizing they're suffocating in the process. But attention is not nourishment, applause is not love, and the spotlight is not where real growth happens. That happens in the quiet, in the questions, in the courage it takes to be alone, and still keep walking forward. Because in the absence of an audience, you learn to validate yourself. You learn to pull your own weight emotionally, to be the one who encourages, supports, believes. You become your own foundation. And when you do, no one can take that from you. When you've survived the silence, you stop seeking strength in others. You stop needing someone to constantly affirm your choices. You stop looking around to see who's clapping before you take your next step. You walk with conviction, not because everyone agrees with you, but because you've looked in the mirror of isolation and made peace with your reflection. You've done the hard work. You faced the messy truths. You felt the loneliness crack open something inside you that used to be afraid, and now it's fearless. You've discovered that your worth isn't a vote. It's not a group project. It's not something to be handed to you by others and revoked when they lose interest. It was never up for debate. So when the noise returns, and it will, you won't need it. When the crowd starts clapping again, you won't be performing. You'll be walking, steady, rooted, unbothered, not because you're cold, but because you've already been through the fire. You've already built your foundation in solitude, and it's one no storm can shake. Others will feel your presence and wonder what it is. They won't always understand it, but they'll feel it. Because that kind of quiet power, the kind born in the depths of stillness, is unmistakable. It doesn't scream, it doesn't beg, it simply stands. So what happens when you stop running from solitude? What unfolds when you stop numbing the ache and start listening to it? That ache, that hollow discomfort, it isn't a punishment, it's a portal. A doorway to your next evolution, but only if you're brave enough to walk through it. Because here's the truth most won't admit. Loneliness doesn't kill you. Settling does. Compromising your standards, dimming your light, silencing your intuition just to keep someone close. That's the slow death. That's the kind of loss that haunts you. And yet so many fall into that trap, believing a little bit of love is better than none at all. That mediocre company is better than a room full of silence. But you weren't made for mediocrity. You weren't made to water yourself down just to be digestible to people who have never tasted authenticity. You were made for something real, something that doesn't demand that you shrink to fit in. And that's why loneliness, when it comes, is not an enemy. It's a clarifier. It strips away the noise so you can finally hear your own voice. It reveals the people who are real and the ones who were only there for the good times. It burns away the distractions so your true priorities can rise to the surface. And it tests you. It asks, will you keep your standards even when you're tired? Even when you feel forgotten? Even when nothing around you seems to affirm your worth? Because that's the moment your strength is defined. Not when you're surrounded by admiration, but when you're surrounded by silence and still choose to believe in your own value. This season of solitude you're in, don't resent it. Don't rush it. Let it do its work. Let it clean house. Let it clear away everything that was built on shaky foundations. Because on the other side of this loneliness is alignment, the kind that draws in people who match your depth, not your desperation. The kind that isn't threatened by your strength, but drawn to it. The kind that doesn't require you to explain your worth, but recognizes it the moment they meet you. That kind of connection doesn't come when you're chasing. It comes when you're rooted, when you know who you are, when you faced your own darkness and made peace with it, when you've walked through the fire and realized you were the flame all along. Yes, the path of depth is lonelier at first. It will feel like no one understands you, like everyone else is content with the shallow, the superficial, the small talk, and the surface-level bonds. But stay the course. Keep walking, because every step you take in your truth is building a life that can't be shaken. It's creating space for real love, real friendship, real purpose. And when it arrives, and it will, you'll know you earned it. Not because you settled, but because you stood tall through the storm, because you didn't sell yourself short just to feel less alone. Let them call you too intense, too picky, too hard to please. Let them misunderstand your standards, because one day, those very standards will become your salvation. One day, someone will walk into your life and thank you for not giving yourself away to people who didn't see your worth. One day, the life you built in silence will shine so bright that even those who once overlooked you won't be able to look away. So stay strong, stay rooted, stay whole. The loneliness you feel now is not a sign you're losing. It's a sign you're leveling up. And the peace, the clarity, the unshakable self-respect you're gaining in this season, that's the kind of wealth no one can ever take from you. There will come a day, sooner than you think, when all this silence you've endured becomes your greatest strength. The nights you cried alone, the weekends you spent in quiet reflection while others chased distractions, the moments you doubted whether anyone would ever truly see you for who you are. They won't be scars anymore. They'll be symbols, markers of transformation, proof that you didn't just survive solitude, you mastered it. And that mastery, that calm certainty in your own soul will radiate. It will walk ahead of you into every room. It will echo in your voice, steady in your decisions, anchor your presence. You'll no longer need to shout to be heard, prove to be worthy, or bend to be accepted. You'll simply be, and that will be enough. Because you will have built something most people never even attempt, an unshakable inner world. And once you've done that, you become unbreakable on the outside too. Relationships don't define you, they enhance you. Company no longer fills a void, it complements the fullness already within you. Attention stops being your fuel because peace has already become your power. You will begin to see people differently. You won't chase friendships or force connections, you'll observe. You'll recognize who's here for the truth and who's here for convenience. Who claps for your spirit and who only claps for your success. Who speaks your language not because they studied you, but because they speak it too, from lived experience, from their own walk through the fire. And here's the irony. The moment you no longer need anyone is the moment you start attracting everything real. Because the energy of a woman who knows her worth, who has sat with her darkness and didn't run, who has built her strength alone without applause, it's magnetic. It can't be imitated. It can't be manufactured. It's the kind of presence that turns heads, not because of noise, but because of depth. People feel it. And the ones who are aligned will be drawn to it, not to take, not to fix, not to use, but to build. They'll bring bricks, not baggage. Vision, not drama. Truth, not performance. So if you're in a season right now where your phone is quiet, your calendar is empty, and your heart aches with the weight of solitude, don't despair. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. This is sacred ground. The life you're building, the woman you're becoming, the strength you're forging. It's not meant for everyone. It's meant for those who are willing to meet you at that depth. And they will come. But only when you fully become her, the version of yourself that no longer needs them to arrive in order to feel whole. Until then, stay the course. Walk the quiet path. Own your silence like a crown. Let the world misunderstand you. Let them think you're cold, distant, too independent. You know the truth. You are not distant, you are discerning. You are not cold, you are clear. You are not too independent, you are finally free. And that freedom, that fierce self-ownership, is what will carry you forward into a life that isn't built on borrowed strength or shallow roots, but one that is deeply yours. Every inch of it earned in silence, every brick laid by your own hands, every part of it a reflection of who you really are, not who the world told you to be. So when you walk back into the noise, and you will, do it with a stillness that can't be shaken. Let your silence speak louder than their chaos. Let your peace speak volumes about your power, and never again apologize for the strength you found in solitude. Because that strength, that calm, that clarity, that unbreakable self-worth, it's forever, and it's yours. So now, when the silence returns, when the room goes quiet, the phone stays still, and the world turns its eyes elsewhere, don't see it as abandonment, see it as arrival. Arrival at a place where your voice no longer needs an echo to feel valid, where your reflection in the mirror no longer needs outside affirmation to feel beautiful, where your dreams no longer need applause to feel possible. You've walked the hardest road, the one within. And on that road, you faced every version of yourself, raw, flawed, afraid, and you didn't flinch. You stayed, you listened, you rebuilt. And in doing so, you unearthed something indestructible. This world will keep trying to sell you the lie that you need more noise to be relevant, more friends to be worthy, more validation to feel alive. But you know better now. You know that power is quiet, that peace is unshakable, and that your worth is non-negotiable. You've sat in the empty room and discovered it was never empty at all. It was sacred. It was the place where you finally met yourself without masks, without distractions, without performance. So walk forward, not searching, not chasing, but knowing. Knowing that the solitude you once feared has become your sanctuary. Knowing that you don't need a crowd to move mountains. Knowing that you are not alone. You are aligned. Aligned with your truth, your vision, your strength. And from that alignment, everything real will flow. Real friendships, real love, real purpose. The kind of life that can't be shaken because it was never built on shallow soil. It was rooted in self-respect, self-trust, and the quiet courage to face yourself fully. Let them talk. Let them wonder how you built all this strength in silence. You don't need to explain it. Just keep living it. Let your presence tell the story. Let your calm become your legacy. Let your solitude become your crown. Because you, my friend, are no longer just a woman who can be alone. You are a woman who thrives alone. And that is rare. That is powerful. That is forever.